Well, hello and welcome to the last typical Boro podcast of the season. We've got plenty to discuss today. As always, I'm your host, Steve Dixon. We're going to go through Coventry City yesterday, and then because it's the last podcast of the season, we're going to open the floor up to you, the listeners, who've thrown in a million questions to be answered by my usual dream team of Mr. Graham Bandera and Mr. John Cutler. You okay,
All
boys?
right. Yeah,
All
very
right.
good. Glad it's all over.
It's been a long, hard season, so we've got plenty to discuss. As you can imagine, the questions, we've had some brilliant questions come in, so we're going to go through all that. Also, stay tuned. We've got another prize draw. It has tipped into May now. I promised you every month on this podcast we'll have a prize draw. So because of Midas cladding, yet again, although this is the last podcast of the season, we have another prize giveaway, which we'll mention later in the show. So we'll get into Coventry to start with. Obviously, Middlesbrough went down 2-0 to Coventry yesterday. Jack Radoni, double goals, done the Boro. I'll come to you, Graham. There was only one change. Iniacho was out. Neto Borges, which was a plus, came back into the Middlesbrough side. Were you happy with the lineup when it came out?
Yeah, I was quite happy, to be honest. It was nice to see his ads in his rightful position. Whittaker started out on the right, which is good for him. Yeah, good to see Borges come back. He's probably been one of my personal favourites in terms of attitude and endeavour and digging in when he was needed to. So yeah, I wasn't too disappointed with the starting lineup and the game itself. I thought we did turn up. I thought we competed. I thought it was a fairly evenly matched team, despite them having the shade of attacks. I mean, the first 10 minutes we were lucky to not concede. To be honest, we were slow out the traps. They were bang at it. I knew they would be. Their main tactic was obviously to exploit our full back positions, get the ball wide. Right, torches us down that left. Sakamoto torches us down the right, and they were just pinging balls in at will. But I thought we held firm. We defended quite well. We broke on him a couple of times. Ilan Jr. was unlucky with a great flash shot just past the post. Finazaz did really well to actually shrug off his man, show a bit of strength, get a shot off. Keeper made a fantastic save. So I was quite encouraged. And then we resort to our default setting of dallying around on the ball. Dijksteel lost possession. Ball was quickly shifted inside, shifted to the wing. Simple cross where we didn't stop the cross. And people will look at Howson and say, why didn't he get close to his man? But that Rodoni was the difference all game. He was quality. They paid $5 million for him. And I'd put a bet on now that he'll be worth $50 million in about 3 or 4 years' time. He was quality. He was the difference to me all game. We couldn't handle him. Got himself 2 goals. And the game went from us really just on the stroke of half time. To concede then was just shambolic because the team talk would have been fairly simple. Stay in the game again, try and break on them, and something might fall for us. But it didn't happen. We conceded. You'd obviously have to say to the players, look, get at them, which we did, to our credit. We created some good chances. The turning point for me was Finazaz when the ball felt it went beautifully in a position where he normally would just stroke that ball into the corner. He actually tried to get his laces through it. The keeper read it well, hit it straight at him. Disappointing that he didn't score there. If we'd have scored then, I would have thought it would be game on, and we might have gone on to maybe got another. Who knows? But that's done and dusted now. The second goal, obviously, we were chasing. They picked us off. Fry in his own half. I have no idea what he was trying to do to close his man so quickly. I knew the minute he left centre of the pitch to try and close off that winger, he wasn't going to get that ball. Poor, very, very poor. Cost us that goal for me. Great finish again by Rodoni. So no complaints about the result because we didn't take our chances when we had them. And again, 2 defensive lapses. But that's been the story of the season for me, just defensive lapses. So yeah, disappointing. Not going to dig them out too much because I expected that result anyway. Said we'd fall short, and in the end we fell considerably short. We were way off it in terms of points total, and 10th positions are fairly reflective of the season. We've done good things and we've done a lot of bad things, so it needs addressing in the summer. I'm sure we'll talk about that a bit later on in the pod. But yeah, fair result, no complaints. Well done, Coventry. If you play the tapes back, I did mention Coventry about 10 episodes ago when Lampard just got them going, got them motoring, a little bit like what Carrick did with us when he came in. Fresh face, gets players galvanised, gets them playing for the manager, and it's worked a treat for him. So it's good luck to them. They're our nemesis. Should hate them really for the damage they've done to us, but they're a good side. They're an emerging side, and they've got Sunderland now, so that'll be an interesting time. But back to us, a lot to do in the summer. So yeah, pretty gutted, pretty flat. I put a meme out on Twitter this morning. Feel a bit like that Escobar on the swing, not really quite knowing what to do this summer. So that's where I'm at.
Cuts. Graham's covered the game elegantly there. Some great points. How did you see the game on the day? I mean, I thought Middlesbrough had done okay in spells in the game, but you always felt the real threat was coming from Coventry. And Graham mentioned the match winner, Jack Rodoni. He has that sort of special talent, that like a David Platt type of role where he just appears into the box, running from deep. Has the talent, the knowledge of when to go, when to sit. In both goals, he was on the spot to bury the Boro. I thought Middlesbrough, as well as they done first half defensively, I thought the cave in right on half time was really poor. It was poor game management again. You've got to see the game out at 0-0 at half time. Get in at half time, galvanise yourself if you need to make any changes or tweaks. And then that would have set up the second half, because results were going for Middlesbrough on the day perfectly until half time. And I was just screaming at the screen, just get to half time, regroup. But again, this Middlesbrough side has got that brittle side to it, and we caved in right in half time. What was your take, Cuts?
Yeah, I thought other than the first 10 minutes, I thought the game was pretty easy first half. And to be fair, I thought we looked a better team second half. They were looking lively on the break, but we were throwing more and more bodies. It's interesting there that Graham's saying not about digging players out, but I am going to dig players out because they're the reason why we finished 10th, which was massively underachieving in my opinion. So for the first goal, you can talk about housing all you want. Illan Jr. there, allowing the player onto his stronger side, getting the ball in the box. That's happened far too often this season.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm digging him out for that. Dale Fry's a player that I mentioned quite a lot. I think he's massively overrated by certain fans. For me, he's not a player. I think it needs your centre-halves to play 25 to 30 games minimum if you're going to go up as a partnership. Now, for me, he's not good enough to get us promoted, in my opinion. So he's a player that personally I'd move on in the summer. I thought his decision for the goal, we can all say that it was a bad decision, but it happens time and time again. It happens far too often, and that's the reason why we're finishing in position 10. So it might sound a bit brutal, but I'm a fan. I'm a supporter of this football club that wants to get promoted, and for me, there's a fair few players that aren't good enough, and I would definitely move on. So I am going to dig them out.
Cuts, I think you're spot on, mate. I mean, I've dug them out all season for them frailties, and I think you're right. It's, I probably dug them out too often. That's why I'm bored of digging them out, because it's the same old story. But you're absolutely right. Illan Jr. never got close to his man, allowed Sakamoto to whip in a beautiful cross, dyke steel, ponderous, looked like he's running through treacle. The ball's just easily taken off him, a little shove, see you later, ball in the middle, back out wide, in. Fry, scandalous decision, makes them tackles time and time again. Paddy McNair used to do it, but never used to get near the man.
For the first goal in particular, I mean, he didn't even have to do a trick on out. He just moved it onto his stronger foot. Illan Jr. didn't even put a foot out to try and block the ball coming in. It's not good enough, that. Like, it's in a must-win game. Everything should have been on the line yesterday. And I thought, like I say, at times I thought we did okay. But that's not good enough. And ultimately, that's what's losing us games. And that's why we are where we are.
Yeah, spot on.
That's
why I think we need better players.
Yeah, decision-making at the back's been poor. There's an argument that we could do with a whole new back four, to be fair. I mean, Johnny Howson has been our best defender. He's a 37-year-old midfield player that shouldn't be playing there. We've got defenders on the bench that have cost this club significant amounts of money, sitting on the bench, watching Johnny Howson play in their position. That's how embarrassed they should be, ashamed of themselves sitting on the bench. I mean, it's just not good enough. Right across the back line all season, we've chopped and changed. We've had 23, 22 different back fours through injury and also because of lack of form. trying to find that formula that works. But this season, it's just been a shambles at the back. The comedy goals we've conceded time and time again, whether it be goalkeeping mistakes in the past by Senny Dieng, indecision in defence. You've seen them before. We've seen them on social media with the Benny Hill music being attached to them, happening time and time again. That's cost us countless points. On the front foot, we've scored a decent amount of goals. We've got players that can hurt teams. But ultimately, if you're wanting to finish in the top 6 or higher, you've got to have that stability at the back. And a little point I'd like to bring in with Cuts, because I've seen you on social media making a point about things. Does it really matter to play entertaining football, or does it matter to play winning football? Because for me, when you go back to the Aito Karanka days, for example, they were far more enjoyable because we were winning every week than Michael Carrick's supposedly entertaining football, where we're getting done most weeks. I mean, look at Burnley, for example, and Scott Parker this season. They've built their foundations on goalkeeper and defence. First of all, keeping clean sheet after clean sheet, and then nicking games 1-0, 2-1. They've went up with 100 points. 100 points. You know, I mean, are the Burnley fans bored this season, Mr. Cutler?
Absolutely not. I mean, like I say, a few people dug him out yesterday, Howson, for the goal, but you mentioned embarrassment there. If I was a centre-half at this football club, and you've got Howson there in the second half, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was Hadji Wright who we chased down and made the tackle just inside the box or just outside the box. Now, that's what I want to see from my defenders, and he's not even a proper centre-half. The other centre-half should be embarrassed. Looking at a 36, 37-year-old bloke, giving it all. I'd have 11 of him in my team than some of them other defenders ever playing again. Even giving him a new contract for next year. I don't want to see him playing every week at centre-half because we should be better than that. But the fact is, we're not. So I want to see grit, determination. I don't care about fancy football. It's just a plus. If you win playing good football, it's a plus. It's about winning. If we can go and win 1-0 every week and go up with 100 points like Burnley, are anyone's going to be sat here mourning and whinging? Absolutely not. It's a myth. Fancy football's a myth.
Just a stat that I seen today as well. It was the lowest points total required to finish 6th in the championship since 2013. In another point, Middlesbrough against the top 6 this season, they've took 5 points from a possible 36, which shows when the going gets tough against the teams around you that you need to win, this Middlesbrough side goes missing. It's brittle. It's weak. Correct. It's not strong enough. And I feel like that mirror images our manager as well at times. I think he needs to be tougher if he's going to stay next season. Michael needs to toughen up. He probably needs stronger people around him as well on the bench if he's going to stay, because this can't continue. I think we're football team, mirror images were manager. You know, if you go back to the Alex Ferguson days, his team were the mirror image of yourself. They were winners. They were strong. They were tough. You know, you could see the connection between manager and players. Well, at the minute, I see connection between our manager and players, and all I see is weakness, fragility. It's not good enough, and it's going to have to be huge changes this summer to change things around. And I'll bring another stat in because it just ties in nicely with this. Because I labelled him the Championship Zidane a long time ago, and I've got a lot of time for Finn Azaz because I think he's a really good footballer. But Finn Azaz, for me, if he lacks anything, he seems to lack a little bit of heart, a little bit of belief, a little bit of drive. He seems to be a little bit of weakness. He needs to toughen up himself. And lots of games pass him by. And Finn Azaz, again, is a little bit of a mirror image of this Middlesbrough side. Is he a flat track bully? So I thought I'd go and have a look on this because I don't want to call him out if it's not true. So I went and had a look at Finn Azaz against the top 6 clubs: Leeds, Burnley, Sheffield United, Sunderland, Coventry, and Bristol City this season. Finn Azaz, against those sides, he's played in all the games, 1 assist, no goals. Now, that surprised me because obviously Finn Azaz has got 23, I think it is, 23 goal contributions this season, either by scoring himself or assisting, 23. But against the top 6 sides, 1 assist, and that was against Sheffield United when he dinked that lovely ball into Latte head home against Sheffield United. Other than that, against the top 6 sides, he's been anonymous.
I think
Not
that's
the only one, but he's our playmaker. And we need more from people like that.
I think that's testament to those top 6 managers who clearly know how to snuff him out. You know, he's a massive danger to any opposition, and they clearly earmark him in these games and put players on him, put two, 3 players on him at times, and therefore he's rendered useless, redundant almost in games. So yeah, I can understand that stat, but I think that's a little bit.
But Bandy,
harsh
come on.
No,
That's too easy. That's too easy to say. The manager snuff him out. If you're a good player and a top player, you've got to find a way.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure back in the day, many managers wanted to snuff out Juninho, but they didn't, because Juninho was a tough little fella, and he found a way, didn't he? You know, yeah, I'm sure many managers wanted to knock Gaston Ramirez out the game in the Championship, but he found a way. If you're going to be a top player and want to have aspirations of the Premier League, in Middlesbrough, Middlesbrough's number 10, trying to get promotion, surely those statistics have got to improve going into next season.
Absolutely. I alluded to it months ago. I said that he looks like he needs to go on a bit of a weights program just to get his upper body strength a bit more physical, because he's easily brushed off the ball, but you can't. He's an enigma. He's going to have nightmare games where he's got no impact whatsoever, but he's also going to pop up with a winning goal or bend one in the top corner to get you 3 points. He's that sort of player. I don't think you can just suddenly change that and make him the full package. He is what he is. You've got to accept him for what he is. But it would be nice to see him be a bit stronger and dominate bigger games, but that might come in time. That might be down to Carrick to develop him. Everybody says how good Carrick is as a coach, developing players on a personal level. So let's see where we're at this time next season with Finn Azaz. But I think it's harsh to pick him out, because he's arguably been one of our, I'd say, top 3 performers this season by a mile. The others don't even come close. But I'll take your point, Dicko. Yes, at times he infuriates me. You know, he angers you because he just looks so lackadaisical, lethargic. Sometimes he doesn't look switched on. And then other times his feet are just beautiful to watch. He can switch play, he can switch the ball so quickly that he can put 2 players out the game and then you're in. But yeah, he's got things to do, but I'm more towards being positive about Azaz.
I just look at Middlesbrough's spine cuts. I'm going to bring you in. Start the season, you're looking at Middlesbrough and you're looking at Senny Dieng in goal, reasonable Championship goalkeeper, we would have said in the summer. Your centre back, Rav van den Berg, is going to be a Dutch international. He'll have a great season. Riley McGree, he's going to be the playmaker, doing this, that, and the other. Finn Azaz, pulling the strings against the top teams. Tommy Conway up front, you know, great signing. But for me, none of them have covered themselves in glory this season for one reason or another. Senny Dieng's going to leave this football club. He's clearly had a nightmare. He's not good enough. Rav van den Berg, in my opinion, went backwards this season. Had a poor season through injury and lack of form. Riley McGree, God knows what's going on with him. He travelled yesterday to Coventry, didn't get on the bench. As I said, Finn Azaz had a good season in terms of numbers, but when the going gets tough, seems to go missing. And Tommy Conway, again, in the big games, for me, when it mattered, when we needed him, he hasn't done it. He was missing again against Coventry. He scored 2 goals in his last 8 games for Middlesbrough. One of them was the penalty against Plymouth. And when we need him to step up, Tommy Conway is he hasn't been the man I thought he was going to be. And I had a message off one of the supporters, which we're going to get into, so I'll tie it in forward, just to ask you, Cuts, because I know you're a big fan of Tommy Conway, and it come from it come from Simon, and Simon said, "Do we get the playoffs with Tommy Conway as our main striker? I like him as he seems a fan's favourite, but I think we need better if we're really going to challenge. We've been at our best under Michael Carrick with Archer or Latte up top. Unfortunately for me, Tommy lacks a yard of pace." Now, I was delighted when we had Latte and Tommy Conway, because I felt you could have Latte running them daft, and then Tommy would come on last 20 minutes and have an impact, and vice versa. Tommy could start some games and Latte could come on and have an impact, and it worked beautifully for a period of time. But I think when Tommy Conway has had to be the main man himself, more often than not, he's come up a little bit short. I know he scored, I think it's 13 goals, which is more than decent. I understand that. But to be your main man, your main striker in a team that's going for promotion, Do we need somebody else to help Tommy Conway, or somebody else to rotate with Tommy Conway cuts?
Well, I think you've mentioned two players there, and it's two players that I think could honestly end the season and say, I've done all right. So for me,
that's why I mention it, because these two get more praise than anybody else. But when you look deeper into the yes and no, because when you look deeper into the situation, if they're your main, what I'm trying to say, guys, is if they're your main men and everybody thinks they're your main talisman, the main players, your main talent, what I'm trying to say is, but when it comes to the crunch games, when it comes to the times when you need these guys in the big 6-pointers, in the big promotion games, in the big derby games against the top 6 teams, more often than not, these two have come up short.
You can say that, but 23 goal contributions from Azaz, and you can add maybe
not against the top 6 though.
No, but and you can maybe add another 15 in, right, from Conway, and you're asking, are they good enough to play? Well, put better players around them, and their goal contributions and the goals tallies will go up. So they're the two players in the team that I certainly wouldn't be criticising. It'd be the rest of the players around them. I think they're more than good enough to be playing. Who's Burnley's top goal scorer this season? They've had, is it Jay Rodriguez who's been playing? He's about 37. Who's Sheffield United's main goal scorer? Are they good enough to be going up? 100%, in my opinion, Conway's good enough with better players around him, and Azaz. 23. I bet there's not many players lower in the positions lower than us that have got anywhere near their goal contributions.
I think Brownhill of Burnley got his 16th goal of the season yesterday. 16 goals, centre midfield, brilliant. Him and Cullen, they make that team tick. Fantastic. There's goals all over in that team, even though people say they don't score many. They've certainly rectified that in the running. But can I make a point on Conway in his defence? Because I don't think we're utilising him correctly. We have a centre forward there with service. I'm convinced there's 20 goals there each season, right? Because he plays off the cuff, he plays off the last man, but his strengths lie in the ball being in front of him, running onto it from wingers who actually cross the ball into an area where he can run into. We're not doing that. We've got wingers who want to come in, right? Inverted wingers. At the moment, it's the death of the game for me. It's awful now. Pep started it and everybody's copying it. We're going that same route. We've got Whittaker, on the right side, playing on his left foot, coming in. We've got Bergzorg playing on the left, coming in on his right. We haven't got that balance right at all. And it doesn't work. Conway's tearing his hair out. You only have to look at him, right? He's the epitome of frustration. Yesterday, I thought he was at Teesside Airport as an air traffic control man, waving the planes in, because he's just waving his arms all the time, telling players where he wants the ball, and it wasn't going to him. If even Bernie Slavin, our mate Bernie, right? His goals ratio would drop in this team because the ball wouldn't come to him. He'd be so infuriated with the service. He'd be tearing his quiff off, right? And Conway's doing the same. And I did
listen to your mate Bernie though the other day. I did listen to your mate Bernie the other day regarding Tommy Conway, and he said, he wishes he would stop running in the channels all over the place and stay where he should be in the box, putting the ball in there, because more often than not, and he done that. I've watched him recently in home games, and more often than not, he's out wide. And I'm saying to Tommy Conway, I want you in the box.
I'm saying the same thing. You know why he's running out wide? Because we play so narrow, it's congested. He's got to get out there. He's making these runs because he wants the ball to his feet. He's frustrated. He wants the ball all the time. He's a hungry young player. He's only a young boy as well, so we shouldn't hang him out.
With the greatest of respect to Conway, I love Bernie a bit. Loved him as a player. But if he didn't have his work ethic and he wasn't running the channels and working as hard as he did, and he was more or less standing in a box, we'd be here criticising him because he doesn't get enough of the ball from the players that are playing behind him. So if he was just stood in the box, not moving anywhere, he wouldn't even be getting it. We'd be calling for him to be out with the team because he just wouldn't be offering anything. He's working hard trying to get involved in the game. And although he's not getting a lot of the ball, he's still putting a shift in. So I'm certainly not going to criticise him. And I definitely think if we put the players around him and Azaz, they're both good enough to play in a promoted side.
Yeah.
So next season, to answer Simon's question, Bandy, I'll come to you first.
Yeah.
Do you think, would you be happy next season starting with Tommy Conway as Middlesbrough's main striker? Or do you think we need somebody at least to be challenging him or rotating with him at the start of next season? Or would you be happy with Tommy Conway as the main man for a promotion push?
I'd be happy with Tommy Conway, provided he's got stiff competition. But I also think we need to look to getting better wingers into the club to service him. Otherwise, there's no point. We may as well get a completely different striker. Just get a big lump up there who can hold the ball up and play off inverted wingers. We're not using
that'll
him
never
right.
happen. That'll never happen with Michael Carrick because he just refuses to have players like that at the football club. So although I do take your point, it's never going to happen.
Conway's purple patch this season was probably around the Norwich game when Doak laid him up for that goal, and he was brilliant, and everything looked like it was clicking. And then obviously you lose Doak and you lose half of Tommy Conway, in my opinion, because he's struggling without his mate on that right hand side. You could just see it. It's obvious. He's tearing his hair out, waving his arms about too much. So I'm going to defend him. And like go back to Simon's question. Yeah, I'd be happy. But obviously you need competition. You can't get complacent. You need competition to stop yourself getting burned out as well, playing every single game. Because he is an impact player. His game is based around being a fox in the box. For me, he's a 6-yard player. And I tell him to stay in there. I wouldn't tell him to come deep. And he's not that sort of player. He's not a chubber. That bomb, he can't do that. He's got you get massacred in that 10 area. A bit like this as does at the times where, what we've mentioned, managers putting players on him, 2 or 3 players just to kill the game.
I think the answer to the question, the answer is both yes. Yes, is he good enough? Yes. Do we need another centre forward? In my opinion, 100% yes.
Yeah.
Someone to push him. Someone equal ability to Tommy. And Tommy would want that as a player. If you've got anything about you want to be pushed.
Mm.
Some of the players have had it far too easy where the places they haven't been pushed.
Maybe that's part of the problem, Cuts. You've just made a great point there. When Latte was at the club, Tommy was being pushed. And since Latte has left, he's just been left as the main man. Maybe Tommy has dropped off a little bit because he knows he's going to play. So it's a good point to make. It's a possibility. It does happen. Not that he's dropped off deliberately, just psychologically in your mind. If you know as a player,
it's a big responsibility for him.
If you know, whereas when Latte was at the club, Tommy would be saying, I need to score today because I know if I don't score today, next week Latte's starting. It's not that he does it deliberately, it's subconscious in a player. If you've got somebody pushing you and you know he's going to be playing if you don't score, it's going to make you up week in, week out. Exactly. So that's question 1.
Yeah, great question. It's 2 yeses from me and it's 2 yeses from Cuts.
We've got a few more to go, so we'll see what happens.
This is going to be about 3 hours.
Yeah, we'll go. So an easy one here is our friend of the show, Terry Bywater, Paralympian legend. He's just said to me, he said, could he get the assistant manager's job at Boro? Do you think it would help with Tell as assistant manager? 100% I would have Terry Bywater on the touchline. He would be tremendous as an assistant manager. He would get them motivated and moving around.
Terry Byline, get him on there.
Terry Byline.
What's he like with an iPad?
I'd settle for some of his motivational speeches, without doubt. Yeah. Get Eltel on the byline. His laptop, still in the swimming pool in Madrid.
Yeah, what's he like with an iPad?
His iPad, yeah.
I think you might stick the iPad somewhere. So we're going to John Hammett. This is a good question for you guys as well. He's asking genuinely, how many of the squad are good enough for promotion? I don't mean potential. He means week in, week out, good enough. Next season, looking at what we've got, how many of those players would you fit in thinking you are good enough for me to have an assault on not just the top 6, but pushing for the top 2?
I think the only ones, this will probably reflect it. I think there's players that I'd keep, but the only ones that I'd be gutted to lose, I would like Travers to come back. Hackney, I think, he's had a decent season. Morris, Conway, Azaz. I don't think there's any other player in the squad that I would be gutted to lose, and I think that shows where we are as a club. I can't think of anyone off the top of my head.
Absolutely spot on. It's going to be no boxing this week, Cuts, I don't think.
Don't go too early, Bandy. You don't know Cuts. Carry on.
No, he's on form today. He knows what he's talking about. I totally agree. We started with Travers. I'd shipped all the defence out because they've let us down week on week. Hackney, Rolls Royce of a player, going to go on to bigger and better things. We all know that. He's quality. Even when he has a bad game, he still tries to make things happen. Morris, come back from injury, a little bit rusty, but there's a quality player in there. I think people are starting to pick up on him and dig him out a little bit, which I think is unfair. He's a good player. Conway, we've just spoken about. He'll get you 20 goals, in my opinion, given the right service. And as Championship Zidane, his stats speak for themselves. So, yeah, spot on cuts. I agree with all of them.
I'll just to add a few flames to the fire. A fire to the flames, whichever way it goes. Aidan Morris, 35 games, no goals, 2 assists. Is he good enough for a promotion side with those statistics?
Well, we've just mentioned him. He's good enough to be in the team, definitely, I think. And I think he's capable of getting better. It's his first season, in English football. Still got a long way to go. Personally, if I wanted to criticise him, I had him down for 8-9 goals. I thought he had that ability to get forward and get shots off, but his shooting looks a little bit wayward to me. He needs to improve his shooting in the summer, but in terms of having an integral cog in the middle of the park, I think he's vital. So yeah, I like Morris, but
again,
yes,
I'm going to be honest.
He can do a lot more.
He's disappointed me slightly because what you've just said there, when he first arrived at the club, and I watched these, highlights that you see when he was I know it's a different level playing in America, but he seemed to be more of a box-to-box midfield player who could drive forward and get shots off and get a few goals. And I agree with you, Graham. I was expecting him, not to be prolific, but then, have 5 or 6 goals to his name in a season, a few assists. And to me, I know he got that injury and that seemed to knock him off his perch a little bit when he got that injury and he came back. He hasn't quite been the same player. But since then, to me, he's going down looking for free kicks, when he doesn't need to. A lot of sideways and backward stuff. Yes, he wins a lot of tackles, which is great, and I know he's there for that particular role because you've got Hackney that's driving forward and stuff. But if Aidan Morris is to have a future at Middlesbrough in terms of a promotion side and pushing on in his career, I think he needs to do more.
I'm going to disagree.
I'd disagree slightly as well with when you said a lot of sideways and backward stuff. Yes, but he also tries to play a forward pass in any given opportunity. The pass is on to go forward, he plays it. If not, he checks back in, he scans, he plays with the ball at his feet, and he'll always make that pass if it's on. If not, that's why he tends to hold on to the ball too often, I think, and is quite easily dispossessed. But he's comfortable with the ball at his feet. He'll generally try and play it back if there's no option. So I think you're being a little bit critical of him not making forward passes because if it's on, they always go forward. It reminds me, and he's nowhere near his level, but Adam Wharton at Crystal Palace, he's class at it. As soon as he gets it, it's forward and it's to feet, crisp. So that's the sort of player I think we can have if he's prepared to develop himself.
For me, he wasn't brought here for goals and assists. And you look at the water carrier, Didier Deschamps. How many goals and assists did he get? You need to get players that are going to get the ball, win the ball, lay it off to the supposed players who are going to score and create goals. For me, I think he's had a decent first season. I think he'll get better next season and definitely good enough to play in a promoted side if you put better players around him.
I don't disagree with what either of you have said. I just expect more from him, and I expect more from my centre midfield player. And that I might be a bit old school, but if I've got a player playing centre midfield for 35 games, I expect more than no goals and 1 assist or 2 assists. I expect more than that. That's just my opinion.
We might see more productivity next season because he'll be given a starring role, I assume, if Hackney moves on. So he'll be in the spotlight. All lights will be on him in the centre of the park. So yeah, he'll have to step up, but there's definitely potential there. He looks a great player.
Yeah,
and I think he was integral to our half decent start when we were in the playoff position, and then he got injured. And then
I agree with that. He had a good start of the season. I agree. I feel like when he got that injury, he dropped off. Yeah.
I think he has the potential to be a future captain as well, because I think he's one of the few players on the pitch that you see talking to other people and flailing his arms around a little bit. More so, it's not hard in this team, more so than a lot of the other players. But I think I've been fairly happy with him. I think the money we paid for him, certainly, I think if we sold him, he'd move on for a profit. But I hope we don't. I think he's good enough to play in a good side next season, hopefully.
Yeah.
Barry Stimson's got the next question for her. Barry, thanks for the question. He said, as I predicted, many on here are happy with Michael Carrick to carry on. Only 3 failed seasons now with a healthy budget. so pretty decent there. Azaz and Whittaker cost a lot of money, but they replicate Michael Carrick's management perfectly. Tippy-tappy, slow and weak. Michael Carrick's got to go, lads, doesn't he? I'll start with you. Come to you, Guts.
Well, everyone knows my views on it. I said if we miss the playoffs, for me it's failure. People have said it's a harsh word, but 10th is definitely a failure this season. So for me, yeah, I would personally make a change. And one of the main reasons why is if we start a season again, which we have done in previous years very poorly, after 6 or 8 games, he's going to be gone anyway, and that's another season wasted. So I think you do it now, personally. I know Michael said afterwards yesterday and he said himself that this is one of the best squads he's worked under. Well, we've massively underachieved Michael with that better squad. So, yeah, for me, thanks very much for some good football at times and some exciting football, but it's time to go for me.
Graham?
There's no first disagreement, Graham. Come on.
You mentioned the boxing earlier. Yeah, okay. Yes, we've failed. We've underperformed. We've been hit and miss, mixed bag, been decent at times, been awful at times. But I still, at the moment, don't think that warrants sacking the manager. I think there's things in place which are positive enough for me to believe that we can kick on. Cuts is right. If he gets off to a bad start next season, then Gibson normally fires around October. I think Wilder went then, didn't he? So he's going to get off to a bad start. I think Gibson will be prepared to give him the benefit of the doubt and go again. I don't think he can be bothered, to be honest, with the upheaval in the summer. He'll be out in Singapore probably. Probably thinks, nah, we'll just give it another go. Financially as well, that'll be on his mind because we'll have a lot of people to pay off in terms of the backroom staff, etc. And we need a massive summer rebuild. So I think his focus will be on getting better players in to hopefully help Carrick. He's a very nice guy. We can all see that. And Gibson like a nice guy at the help. A manager that's slightly antagonistic doesn't last too long. And we saw that with Chris Wilder. We saw that with Warnock in the end, who also had a pop at recruitment.
Taking away your instinct though, Graham, and you know what you think will happen, because it does sound very much like behind the scenes, Carrick seems to think that he's going to carry on next season. He seemed fairly confident at the end of the game when asked the questions that he's going to have another good season next season, was his comment. Another good season. Have a word with yourself, Michael. Anyway, that's another thing. Back to you, Graham. Why do you see the confidence in Michael Carrick? What do you see in his management style that you think he's going to pull one out the bag for Middlesbrough next season? You know, 5th first season, was it 5th? 8th second season, 10th this season. Points totals have went 75, 69, 64. What do you see that I don't see personally that's going to be different next season in Michael Carrick?
I see the points totals dropping because we've lost key players. He's had the rug pulled from beneath him and there's not a damn thing he can do about it. And there's money coming into the club, which is making us sustainable. So in that respect, Gibson's got every right to do that. But in terms of being a fan, it's sickening to see. Just when you're starting to get somewhere close to where you need to be, you tail off and you're back to where you were. You're starting again. And I think Carrick's had that problem ever since we lost our first key player in Chuba Akpom, where we had him on loan, and there's no way that we were going to be able to. And not on loan, we shipped him out, didn't we? There's no way we're going to be able to keep him. So that's a problem for him. But I think that's why Gibson has him there, because he's a new young manager and he's willing to operate under this model. The model's there to keep us sustainable, which is fantastic, and that's the way forward for a club so we can remain solvent. However, it's not. It's detrimental to what we're trying to do in terms of building a quality team. So you're going back to Carrick's strengths. This is some of the best football I've seen us play for years. I think it's great. I like playing out from the back.
When was the last time you seen that, Graham?
I see it every game. I see the way we try to play. It's a slow build-up. We play through midfield. We get the ball wide and we get it into the box, hopefully, whether or not it's via going past your man on the flank or coming inside. But that's the way he tries to play. A lot of teams play. You can't just say, oh, it's a failed method, because there's a lot of players, a lot of managers out there playing the same way and getting rewards.
Have you been entertained this season, Graham? 18 defeats?
No.
So that's what I'm saying. So when was the last time you were entertained watching Michael Carrick's fantastic football?
It's entertained. It's a difficult word because you go to the match. I like the football we play, but I don't like the defensive. I don't like the defensive mistakes. I don't like the personnel we have. Trust me, with better personnel, Michael Carrick will be a better manager. Better players make better managers. It doesn't work the other way around for me. Good managers can make players slightly better, but if you've got good players, you'll have a better manager, guaranteed. Right?
I agree. I agree with it. I agree with him there. The football we played when we had, let's be honest, the standard of players was far higher. Archer, Ramsey,
correct.
Yeah, it was really some of the best football I've watched. So the only way he can possibly stay next year is if he's going to get. Now, don't take this the wrong way, because I think he's been backed this year, but backed to the next level where we are actually top two's the aim this season, and we're going to really, really go for it in the summer window. And with better players, better performances will come. And his football is exciting to watch when he's got them players. But the question I've got is he improving the players that are already here, that he has a hand in bringing to this football club? Is Whittaker improved since he's been here? No, but I saw glimpses of him yesterday, and I've said this a few times in the past, that I think there's a player in Whittaker myself. Now, I don't think the manager's getting the best out of him, whether that's he's playing him on the wrong side or not in his right position. We've seen it with Azaz when he's moved him to a different position instead of playing him in the 10. So these are all fair criticisms of Carrick. And I think, to be fair to Graham, he's criticised Michael Carrick plenty of times this season.
But I'd still stick with him for the reasons you've just outlined.
Which is fine.
We can play nice football. He's proved it.
But we're saying he plays nice football, and we're going back to the squad that he had in his first spell, as if that was like the Harlem Globetrotters. But he said himself that this squad that he's got this season is the best he's ever had. They were his words. They were his words. And at the start of the season, before we start shipping players out in January, he had at his disposal Latte Lat, Tommy Conway, Ben Doak, Finn Azaz, Riley McGree, Marcus Force, right? You had all those players, and Bergzog, all those players in the front end of the pitch at his disposal. Yet the highest we've ever been in the league this season is 5th, which was only for a couple of weeks.
That's because of what's happening at the back.
But if you go back, right, even to the Harlem Globetrotters team that he first had when he first came here, right, that we'll keep going back to, right, that defence then, Tommy Smith, Dale Fry, Darrell Lenihan, Ryan Giles, was it really any better than what we've got now?
Yeah, Tommy Smith was quality. Absolutely quality. A proper championship pedigree player. We don't have
what
that.
I'm saying is, if you look at the defence,
treading water.
Defence as a whole, what I had then, it wasn't a tremendous defence that was impregnable, was it? It was a fact that we had. He got a tune out of the front four that season. My argument is that yes, the defence is still poor now, but at the start of the season, with Ben Doak, the players I've just listed there, Lat, Conway, Azaz, Bergzog, all those players, Marcus Force, we still have a tremendous, attacking options at the start of the season. Yet Michael Carrick still couldn't get anywhere near the top.
Third top scorers. With them top scorers with them players you mentioned.
Yeah, but we're not winning the games
because of what we got at the back. It's crap.
But it wasn't great back then either. That's what I'm trying to say. We were winning games. If you think about it, that team we're going back to, it won a lot of games, 3-2, 3-1. We're still conceding, but we're outscoring teams. We're not outscoring teams anymore.
I think that defence was significantly better. We had players that played every week for starters. We didn't have 22 different defensive formations in that season. I'll go back to Tommy Smith. He was brilliant for that team. He carried that team through games. He was class. Massive miss when we lost him. Never been replaced. Replaced with Dykesteel, Ayling, not good enough. Nowhere near Tommy Smith's level.
I never realised Tommy Smith was like prime Cafu. Like I know he's decent. He gets stuck in, and I know he works hard. And I don't think he's a good championship defender. But let's not, because he's been missing a while, start making Tommy Smith into something that he's not. Because he's only.
That's the calibre of player we need to stop shipping goals. He might not be pretty on the eye. He might not.
We had Luke Ayling fit at this. We had Luke Ayling fit at the start of the season. Was he not much in that stamp?
When Ayling come in, his loan spell was fantastic. No one can disagree with that. Hence why
So we
he
had
got
him
a
at the
2-year
start of the
deal.
season, Luke Gale, and he was playing, not Dijksteel, at the start of the season. It was
Eamon's
Luke
done
Gale.
okay, but he's been injured. He came back too soon, injured, out for a long while now. So he's never going to recover now because his leg's worn. His legs have probably got. But we need better. We need miles better than what we've got.
You mentioning our forward players there, Dicko. Other than Ben Doak, which of this current squad gets in that team that Michael Carrick had at first? None of them. Which of the forwards, which of the front forward get in other than Ben Doak in that team that was banging goals in left, right, and centre? None of them.
I think Lattiala would have a shout.
What, ahead of Archer? For me, he's not as good as Archer.
Similar type of player.
I think Archer's a better player in the Championship than what Lattiala is. Personally, I thought Archer was top notch when he was here. Excellent. Ramsey, although he was injured a few times.
Ramsey on that left-hand side, dear me. If you compare him to what we've got on the left-hand side, it's chalk and cheese, honestly.
Yeah.
Far better team. And that's the team Carrick assembled.
But this is why it's so confusing when he says that this is the best squad he's had, because in my opinion, it's definitely not. So he's selling himself a little bit short.
I think he's protecting them to get a tune out of them because, I don't agree with that.
To play devil's advocate here, Cuts, it's certainly better than last season's squad. Would you agree, Bandy, Cuts?
100%.
Yeah.
So last season we finished 8th with 69 points. This season we're 10th with 64.
So you've mentioned two pivotal players.
We had an injury crisis last season, by the way, as well, and we had a cup run to the semi-final.
Mm-hmm. But we also sold Rodgers. There's another one gone. And you mentioned the forward line who started this season. Laugh gone. Doak injured. So the three key players there in 2 seasons have all gone. The common denominator there is you're going to struggle without your best players. And if you're relying on a defence like what we've got, you're going nowhere.
It's interesting people mention Rodgers, but other than the League Cup run, I'd be interested to know how many goal contributions he had in the league last year, because he wasn't starting every week when he was here. And I think every single Boro fan will have been massively surprised when he got sold to Aston Villa, because he wasn't amazing when he was here. You could see he had ability, and he's done amazingly well at Aston Villa, but his goal contributions here last season in the league, but I bet it's less than 5. He did well in the cup.
Yeah.
Morgan Rodgers played 33 games for Middlesbrough, scoring 7 goals, 8 assists.
A lot of them were cup goals.
No, I think they were. I think that's his league. That's his league form.
8 league goals.
7 league goals. Yeah.
His contributions were good, but they weren't outstanding. I think he was still a developing player while he was with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why he was here. So let's credit Carrick for actually developing him. And then obviously he's moved him on to Villa, and he's at a much bigger club. He's with better coaches. He's in a better atmosphere. He's playing with better players. He's playing wall passes off John McGinn now, not Marcus Forss or whoever. So that's the level he's at now. Good luck to him. He's been brilliant for Aston Villa. Who'd have thought Rafinha would have gone to Barcelona and become an elite player when he was at Leeds? He was excellent at Leeds, but he's jumped another level. So Rodgers has done the same. So maybe that's a positive for Carrick. He is good at developing players and moving players on. Unfortunately, he's not with us, is Rodgers, but that's the problem we have. Anyone that's half decent is going to be shipped out to keep the club sustainable and adhere to financial fair play rules, which is such a shame because you see so many teams with so much money who are on a level with us, but they get a few quid and they just run away.
Let's rattle on with some of these questions, guys, because we've got lots to get through. We're going to be at 3 hours.
I wasn't wrong, was I?
John's asking, Coventry, Blackburn, Millwall and West Brom all had manager changes during the season. We seem satisfied with mediocre. Is there an argument that Middlesbrough maybe should have rolled the dice earlier in the season?
No, Jono's good mate of mine, Jono. Long time season ticket holder. Seen a lot of football with him, and I think he's spot on, to be honest. I mentioned his tweet a couple of weeks ago when he said that some fans seem to be accepting mediocrity and finishing 10th and all of that type of stuff. I agree with him. I know for a fact he's a one that advocates the change of a manager as well.
I'm going to shock you here, Cuts, for what it's worth, and say I was happy to keep faith in Michael Carrick till the end of the season. I thought with the players we had at our disposal, coming back from injuries, the fixtures we had leading up to the end of the season, I was always confident that I thought Middlesbrough would nick that 6th spot. So I didn't see the urgency to change it then. Now, obviously, that we haven't made it and we've come 10th, I'm like you, I'm in your camp. I would be looking to change it now. But changing it at the time, I would have probably stuck with Carrick. And I imagine Bandy would have been the same.
Yeah, I wanted to stick with Carrick all season. I didn't think we'd sneak the 6th spot. I did say we'd fall short, and we have done. I think we're in that pool of clubs anyway. We're mixed in there with Coventry, Millwall, Blackburn. That's our level. That's where we're at. That's where we've been for.
Is
it? Yes.
I don't think so.
We cannot compete financially with the 3 that are going up. Simple as that.
But they put us in their company, Bandy. With the budgets of these teams that Millwall, Blackburn have got, and the squads they've got compared to Middlesbrough, we should be doing miles better than them. We shouldn't be sitting below Millwall and Blackburn, even Bristol, compared to the budgets that we've got compared to those teams.
You sent me a league table of teams of team spend. So Norwich, Luton, they're way above us in terms of spend, but where are they?
Parachute payments, that's why. That's parachute payment money, though.
Yeah,
but Middlesbrough, in terms of spend,
they spent wisely. They're in another league.
Both of them got rid of managers as well.
Having money is no guarantee of having a good team. It's how you spend that money, right? And I'll always say, let's look at recruitment.
Yeah, well, that's a good point, recruitment. We'll get onto that, I'm sure, shortly, because that'll be coming up in the questions. Andrew Peel, who we know, he's just messaged saying, Peel, he's got, we're finished just 15 points above relegation. That sums up our lacklustre season for me. I've seen residents of an old people's home move quicker when the bingo's on. An absolute abomination of a season.
I agree with all of that. The bingo call's great. I love that.
Chris Lane, 18 defeats is a disgrace. Preston, 20th, 16 conceded more than Hull, who are 21st. All of the stats from last week: goals down, points down, clean sheets down, finishing position down. This is a monumental pre-season again. I don't know the answer. But the issue isn't one man alone. So he's saying the issue is not just one man, Michael Carrick. Totally agree with that point. It's a collective. We've got to look at start at the top with Steve Gibson for me. What's his plan for next season? You've got to look at, Kieran Scott, recruitment, his scouting team. What's their plan for next season? Hasn't been good enough this season. Had a shambolic window in January, in my opinion. The coaching staff behind the scenes, behind Michael Carrick, what's standing behind him? What's Grant Ledbetter doing? What's Michael Carrick's brother doing? What's Jonathan Woodgate doing? Does that need looked at? Do they need shipped out? Do they need changed? Lots to talk about.
Well, of course it needs to look at that. You've certainly got to look at it. We're not privy to what happens in the changing rooms and on the training pitch, what's getting mentioned in boardrooms, etc., etc. But one thing that I'm 100% sure of is that nobody involved in that football club will have thought that we'd have missed out on the playoffs this season. Not one.
I agree with that. Yeah, I think Middlesbrough Football Club in the summer, with the recruitment, with what they had already, what they brought in, I think Steve Gibson, I think Kieran Scott, Neil Bowser, I think they'll all have been very, very confident that Middlesbrough, bare minimum this season, would have been playoffs.
Absolutely.
I think after the January transfer window, most of them, that personnel you mentioned, will have thought differently.
But you think Steve Gibson would have spent £6 million on a player, which is quite a lot for our club at the moment, thinking that we're not going to make the playoffs? Absolutely not, in my opinion.
Once Lath goes, the heartbeat of your team has gone. I think he'll have known it's going to be an uphill struggle. That's probably why I think he's quite favoured towards Carrick. I think he owes him a little bit. And I think Carrick's willing to carry the can. Because Gibson's trying to balance between running it as a business and a football club. And I respect him for that. So it's a tricky situation. Carrick will have known Lath's going to go. He probably knew in the start of the season he was going to go, but that was very, very disruptive for me. It was either going to go or stay. Don't make your mind up. Go before the season, not wait till the last day of the transfer window and then screw up the first 3 months of the season because nobody knows what's happening. Unfortunately, he went in January, which I thought was a nonsense. If you're going to go before the season, don't go halfway through. It's derailed us completely. He was a key player, and I'll always say that. Could be completely wrong, but it's just my gut feeling. That's why I'm on here, to give my opinion.
I think in general, when Steve's ever, I know he doesn't do so many interviews now, but whenever he's talked after the season, he's always said that he'll have a chat with the manager on the Monday or the Tuesday. I'm going to put my neck on the line here and say I'll be absolutely amazed if there's no club statement on Wednesday or before saying that Michael Carrick's been relieved of his duties. And that'll tell you exactly what the planning was in the club and where they thought we should have been finishing, which we've all said has been underachievement. You've talked about him there saying that he wants a yes man, blah, blah, blah. He wants to be successful. He's put money into this football club this year again. Yes, and we've sold certain players, but because of financial fair play and all that, like we've all said, he's not above blame, but I will put my neck on the line and say I'll be amazed if Michael Carrick still manages this football club on Thursday after they've had a debrief about the season.
I think a huge point will be possibly how much say Michael Carrick had in Kelechi Iheanacho coming to this football club, because John's made a good point. We knew, and you said the same, Graham, you knew that Lat was leaving this football club in the summer at some point, whether it be January or what have you.
Yeah.
So the club knew at some point he was going to go. So here in Scott will have had players being put to Michael Carrick. If Lat goes, who do you want to join this football club? And the rumour was, obviously, there's a striker, Strelic, I think it was Bratislava. Strelic, who scored a hat-trick, I think, at the weekend, was lined up by Kieran Scott to come in for £4 or £5 million. It didn't happen. The rumours are Michael Carrick fancied, Kelechi Iheanacho. That could come into the play, because if Michael Carrick had nothing to do with Kelechi Iheanacho, and that's what he was given by the club to replace Lat, he's got an argument to go to Steve Gibson and say, look, this is where it went wrong. You sold me talisman. We lost Ben Doak. We would have finished higher if we'd had them. If Kelechi Iheanacho was a Michael Carrick man, and that was the player that he was hell-bent on having above Kieran Scott's options, that could seal his fate with Steve Gibson.
I'd certainly agree with that, because there's absolutely no due diligence done on Kelechi Iheanacho. It's clear. He's turned up last minute in the hope that he's going to produce, and he looks way off it. It's just tragic, really.
I know for a fact, after having a sit-down meal with Kieran Scott, that he said, but this was just after the Wilder thing when there was all that about Dwight Gale and McGoldrick, no player comes to this football club without the manager giving it the okay. That's what Kieran said.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true. I'm just going to give a plug at the moment. I get a chance for the prize draw for May. Because there's no football, there's nothing happening, there's no ticket deals, we can do things like that. I just thought, what could Middlesbrough fans do with now this awful season has finished? And I thought they could do with a bit of food and a few pints and have a nice time. So what I've done is I've got a Love Your Local gift card, which is a card you can use in pubs up and down England, anywhere in England, and obviously on Teesside in Middlesbrough. And I've checked out the Six Medals pub by the stadium. You can use it there as well. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to stick £100 onto that gift card, and we'll announce a winner on X, on social media. So we'll put a prize draw tweet out. You'll have to retweet the tweet as per usual and like it, and make sure you're following the Typical Boro podcast on X, and you'll up for grabs £100 Love Your Local gift card to spend wherever you fancy. So there you go. Can't see it fairer than that. Right, we'll get back to some more questions if we can, because I want to try and fit as many as I can. We don't mind going over a little bit because it's the last one of the season. Dan Gray comes in. For so long, fans complained we were boring. Pulis made the playoffs. The football is rubbish. I'll change his word. Now we're dominant in possession. and the more interesting to watch, but finish 10th, and the fans don't like the style. Can we all now shut up about style and agree it's irrelevant if we don't win? I think we've sort of covered that, didn't we, before, really? It's all about winning, it's all about results, as Burnley has shown. I know Bandy still likes a little bit of style about his team.
Look,
Can
you can do both.
Can you? Well, I was going to say that. Can you do both, Graham?
Yes, you can. It's been proven
in the championship.
Yes, you can. We've just spoke about it. Carrick's first season at Middlesbrough.
Yeah.
Part of his second season, so you can do it. Yeah, of course you can.
Yeah.
Look at the teams that have gone up. They can mix it up. They can. Yeah. Of course we can do it.
So Nick asks, I'll come to you, Cuts. Can we trust the recruitment team? And if we can, how many transfer windows could it realistically take to make Boro a top 2 team? He reckons it could take as many as 4 or 5.
It just depends how much you spend.
So this is Cuts.
Oh, sorry.
He's just taking his time to think about it. He's just pondering.
I don't think the squad's as bad as what we've been this season. I think a lot of it is down to management and getting the best out of players. If we'd have made a change when what did we win 2 games in 16 when there was a lot of hoo-ha about changing the manager then? Would it have worked? It would have depended on who you brought in. But you've mentioned other clubs there. Millwall made a change. They've finished above us. You mentioned Norwich and that they've underachieved. Well, they made a change. Got a draw. You played a half-decent style football. We'll never know. It's in hindsight. But yeah, I think there's players here that are good enough to get us up. I don't really think it will take 4 or 5 windows. I think we've got ability here. I think we've got a core of a squad that have massively underachieved. But like I keep saying, and I've said it time and time again, the bulk of that has got to be on the manager's shoulders, whether that's fair or not. It's a fact.
Bandy?
Yeah, Cuts makes some good points. We do have the bulk of a decent side. So I just think with a bit of fine-tuning, some better quality, certainly a better defence, why couldn't we improve under Michael Carrick? Surely he sees the same game we see. He might say something different in front of the cameras and to the media. He's probably got to do that. It's agonising at times because you do want him to come out and be truthful and say, yeah, it was crap today, but he doesn't. McLaren used to be the same. He used to say it was tremendous. We were magnificent today. I remember going down to Arsenal, we got panned 7-0. He came out, he said, I thought the young lads were magnificent. We just got rolled 7. And that was his way of protecting the young players. So I can see why they do it, but it is a bit, it's annoying really, but that's his way. We're not going to change that. He's going to go to another club and he'll manage the same way and he might have success because he might have better players, or he might have a complete nightmare and I'll be proved completely wrong and he'll take a team down. But at the moment, I'd stick with him because of what John's just said. There's a nucleus there of a good team. We've had perceived better managers and we've had a worse team and we've had worse results and we haven't performed admirably on the pitch. We didn't look like a good side. So I'm prepared to stick with him and just see if it goes well at the start of next season. If it doesn't, I'll hold my hands up and say, look, it's time now. You've had pre-season. He probably will get a few quid to spend. I don't think it'll be much, but he'll get a few quid. He will bring bodies in. And if we don't start right, then he'll know that himself. I personally think he's been told that he's staying on. I watched his interview yesterday after the game, and he was quite, even though he was flat, there was still a little twinkle in his eye. I think he'd been told that whatever happens, Michael, you're staying, so don't worry about it. I think he'll still be here. I know John said he'd be amazed if nothing happens by midweek this week coming. That I think he'll stay.
Can I just make a point on this? I've just got another question from number 6, who says, does Steve Gibson ever want to be promoted? Who decides who we buy and sell? And we are so poor, we have to scrimp and scrape with loan deals and 3 to 6 million players. Whose fault is it that we are underachieving so badly? So I'm just going to nip that into what you just said, Bandy. You just said a comment there which pricked my ears, where you said you think Middlesbrough won't be spending that much again this summer. Well, I'll be very disappointed if that's the case, considering we spent 25 million on players this summer and we sold 27 million pounds worth of players this window. So we're more or less level on what was spent this season. But we've got, as I say, a lot of money burning a hole in Steve Gibson's pocket. For the life of me, I can't see we're keeping Hayden Hackney. Hayden Hackney's going to go for hopefully at least £20 million. That to me should give Middlesbrough, barring the teams that come down from the Premier League, probably the biggest spend this summer coming with the money we've got at our disposal. And I was talking to producer Sophie about this, and we come to the conclusion that this summer, rather than Middlesbrough go and signing players for 3 million, 2 million, 4 million, and getting sort of 4 or 5, of them type of players, why don't Middlesbrough just go for game changers? Go and get 2 big Premier League loans in, like the Ben Dokes, like proper game changers. Because we've already got a decent squad of average championship to decent average championship players sitting there. Now, can you imagine if we went and headhunted 3 or 4 game changers from abroad or the Premier League and went, listen, we're going to push the boat out. We're not going to bring 9 players or 10 players to the club this summer. We're going to bring 5. But those 5 are going to be game changers because he's coming in from abroad and he's a striker and we're going to spend £10 million on him. And he's coming from the Premier League on big wages on a season loan from Manchester United. And he's coming from the Premier League on big wages from Manchester City. And we're going to get him from the Championship because we've headhunted him. And we're going to spend £10 million on him and get some game changers to add to the squad. Rather than bringing in these gambles, £2-3 million, go and get 4 or 5 players that you can add to this squad that would rocket you up the league to add to what you've got. Because we've already mentioned the players we've got that probably are going to stay, like your Finn Azazes, like your Tommy Conways, possibly Rav Vandenberg, your Aidan Morris, who are decent players at this level. Can you imagine them with 4 or 5 game changers around the squad? Because I think we can plug holes. We can plug holes with what we've got.
I agree with that, though. The first one would be Travers. Now, how much is he going to cost?
Yeah, I would like to know. I don't know, but you're right. Why not just go and get him? If he costs you 8 to 10 million, go and get him. Go and get him.
Exactly. It would be nice. I don't believe we have this money burning a hole in Steve Gibson's pocket. I think a lot of that money has gone and cleared off debt, or he's paid himself back, which the money has just been putting into the club, $1 million a month or whatever, to keep us sustainable. And a few quid was spent on Whittaker, which the jury's still out for me, but there's potential there. He showed flashes yesterday. He was unlucky with that shot, crashed off the post. That's what I want him to do. I want him to do that 10 times a game, because if he does, 2 or 3 of them might go in. So you're right, though. We do need a couple of marquee signings, really, just to boost the place and give everybody a lift, because surely season ticket numbers are down. I think there will be, because there's been nothing from the club to say how great they are. So it suggests that they haven't been as good as anticipated. But yeah, it'd be lovely to go and sign the next Paul Merson to get us out of this goddamn division. But that takes good recruitment. But where are they? How much do they cost? A lot of money. That's the problem. I don't think we have that much money to spend because of the financial fair play. We're operating within a very, very stringent budget now. And it has been for some time since these rules were put in place. And we've got to credit Gibson for that. He must be tearing his hair out thinking, yeah, I'd love to go and sign half of Man United's youth team or Man City's or Villa's and get him in and get us out of this league. Because the riches for him are very valuable as well if we get up. But he's trying to find a balance, I think. And I think by putting Carrick in charge, Carrick understands the constraints. Maybe some of the previous managers don't understand as much. And I think that's why Gibson likes to have young managers in place who he can work with, work alongside and build up a good relationship. I think that's why he's still got Carrick there. Because Carrick understands the situation we're in. And he's obviously grateful because he's a rookie manager. He's just starting out. So he's grateful to be in a position. And he does care. He spoke after the game yesterday. He says, I do care. He might make bad decisions. If we were sat in the pub having a few pints with him, we'd be saying the same thing what we're saying now to him. And I'm sure he'd give us a different answer to what he gives to the media. He's not stupid. Honestly, I don't think he's stupid. I think he's a very intelligent man. And back to your question, yes, let's go and get some of them good players if the money's available. I put a tweet out this morning, actually, regarding Carrick. I'm amazed we haven't had any Manchester United players on loan or for a small fee. Somebody who's never going to play for Manchester United, but is good enough for a championship. I find that strange.
I agree. I mean, let's be honest. You know, if I'm Michael Carrick and I'm staying at the football club, the one thing I'd go to Steve Gibson and say is, if you're backing us in the summer and I'm staying, if you do one thing for me, Mr. Gibson, if we're doing well, I want you to guarantee in January our best players stay. Because the last 2 years, Rodgers has gone, Latiolat's gone. You need, if we're up there in the top 6 and challenging, all I want from you, Mr. Chairman, is to guarantee that my best players stay at this football club, to give me a chance to get this football club back into the Premier League. That's what I'd be asking Steve Gibson.
Totally agree. And that's why we're gambling on bang average players in the hope that one or two of them turn out to be half decent. But that's not good enough. That's never going to get you competing with the teams that are dropping with parachute payments and wandering around with bags of cash, throwing money at the project and getting up because it works.
Cuts? Anything you need to add to that?
Yeah, not really. It'd be nice to get in some top quality players, but I think he's been backed fairly well this year. At the end of the day, he knows the club we are. If we're buying a player for 5 million, we get offered 25 million. We're not in a position to turn it down. To be fair, we could have sold Hackney at the same time at Porto, and he didn't. So if it's keeping one or the other, I think we kept the right one of the two because we had nothing else in midfield. But he could very well go in the summer as well. But I think he's been backed enough. I don't agree with that, mate.
Yeah, good point. Listen, guys, we're running over. We're going to leave it. We've run over. You know, we can always come back on. Going to have a few thank yous because it's obviously the last podcast. So I'd just like to thank obviously the listeners, you know, for backing the podcast since we've started. Thank you for subscribing. Much appreciated. We're going to come back obviously next season, hopefully bigger and better. If anything happens over the summer that's of note regarding Middlesbrough Football Club, we will be back on. Don't worry, we'll drop an emergency podcast in if anything happens regarding a manager situation or anything like that. If that could happen, we'll be back on. Don't worry.
Could be Wednesday cuts.
Could be Wednesday according to Cuts. He's got inside information. I would just like to say we have contacted Middlesbrough Football Club and asked if Kieran Scott would like to come onto the podcast. As of yet, I haven't heard back from them, but we have asked the question. Kieran Scott would always be welcome on this podcast. We'd love to ask him some questions and see what's happening at the club for next season. So, Kieran, if you're listening, more than welcome to come on the podcast. I'd like to thank Midas Claddon. Fantastic sponsorship this season. Absolutely loved having you as the sponsor. So thanks for that and all the prize draws. Thank the Red Radio for having on the Red Radio. Dave Roberts, thank you very much for putting the podcast on the Red Radio. I'd like to thank producer Sophie, because without producer Sophie, you guys know, there would be no podcast. We couldn't cope without the producer. And I'd last of all have to thank my wife for putting up with me being mad on football day and night, driving her nuts. So thanks to Nina for putting up with me. And obviously, before I go, Mr. Cutler, Mr. Bandera, thanks to you two gentlemen for joining me week in, week out on the podcast and sharing your views.
Pleasure, and thanks for your hard work, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much, boys. Right, that's it for season 1. Remember, don't see a typical Boro. Watch it, listen to it, and we'll be back again soon. Up the Boro.
Up the Boro.
Up the Boro.